Dear beautiful souls, today I want to speak to you about the ego's favorite topic. Why is my life so hard? Why is it so difficult? Why is there so much challenge? Why are there so many obstacles? And this perspective couldn't be more distorted, because of course that's the victim perspective that the ego has to justify its existence. But in truth, what is really occurring? Yes, it has been prophesied in many native traditions. It has been prophesied by many shamans, yogis, mediums, that there is a shift of the ages. And of course, we are entering the Aquarian age. But there's a huge misconception what the Aquarian age is really about. And why is it actually so difficult right now for many? And why do so many challenging manifestations arise that have to be faced and transmuted? Well, in the previous age, we lived in a much denser form of vibration. That means manifestation would come in slower. Karma would be reflected much later, delayed by the mechanism of time. But now what is happening is, because we are existing in a cosmic stream of synergy where the universe is trying to integrate the experiences of this cycle and other cycles into one multidimensional realization of, let's say, the totality of the human psyche on this planet. The challenge is simply this, that through the acceleration of energy, more and more of what you have not been integrating in other lifetimes, in your parallel incarnation, so to speak, all of this is suddenly falling onto the current incarnation, which is the incarnation that is at the end of the cycle. So the one that has to bring it all to conclusion. And that, of course, creates a great psychic pressure. And it means a lot of shadow work, a lot of shadow integration needs to be done to achieve the correct state of alchemy, so you're stable in the higher energies. In previous ages, you would perform maybe acts of separation, acts of selfishness, and the karma would hit you maybe a decade later. And your ego would actually not make the connection between what's happening to you or what you may have done to others. And then it plays victim. Oh, God is punishing me. My life is like this. I don't know why I deserve it, and so on. Because there is a disconnect between the energy that you put out, and through the delay of time, the response of the universe that then you experience, so delayed that your human memory is incapable of seeing the context of why a certain suffering manifests for you. But now everything is happening so fast that we are actually very, very capable, based on the context, to realize what we are currently in need of integrating. So you can take this ride in a more dignified, in a more graceful way, or in a more dramatic way. This is for everybody to decide individually. Well then, so why is life currently so tough? It's because of this acceleration of energy, because the karmic mirror is reflecting you the results of your actions much more quickly. It means that the events come in at a rapid pace. And of course, those souls who have through the previous age done their spiritual practices and have accumulated the methods and the integrity and the inner architectural strength to be able to integrate experiences at such a rapid pace, they will benefit greatly, because now they can evolve at a speed that was unknown for a while. Yeah, but as always, cycles, they replace each other temporarily, they move, they merge into each other, and they begin then, certain forces become predominant in those cycles, and then certain yogic practices or mystical practices become either more difficult or more easy. Now, those who have done the shadow work of other lifetimes and have integrated a lot of their past life trauma, they can now benefit from this energy because they can accelerate their evolution and transmute the dense material and therefore live in a higher energy environment where information is much more readily available and where things move faster with less physical resistance. Yeah, but at the same time, the obstacles in you that are not a match to this reality, you need to take care of. If one has not done the proper work in the previous cycle and has maintained the perspective of a victim, the idea that evil exists outside of you, that it must be fought, that your projections are the enemy, those who believe that this is true, they will suffer tremendously because they will not take accountability for their manifestation right now. So there will be one event after another, after another, after another, and they perceive it as traumatic. They don't perceive it as a chance to transmute karma. They don't perceive it as a chance to gain in wisdom and to advance in spiritual evolution. They will see it as being constantly attacked, being constantly assaulted, being constantly put into a corner because they have not learned how to surrender to the cosmic currents that represent the will of God. And the will of God, of course, seeks fusion, seeks integration, seeks union. So whatever belief and distortions that you still carry that do not believe in union, that believe that you are a victim and the evil is outside of you and you have nothing to do with it, and the manifestation of it has not to do with your previous energies that you have used to co-create in this universe with, well, then you are in for a very tough ride because, again, you will experience this as traumatic, not as healing. And therefore, if such an attitude exists, energetically, we are not a match to the higher reality. So at the end of a reincarnation cycle, as it is right now, then there must be a repetition of a more dense experience where you're more trapped in the ego, more trapped in a sense of individuality instead of union, where there is not really an understanding of a universal consciousness, but there is an emphasis on a separate consciousness, which of course leads to a greater deal of suffering because there's more personality. So things are personal. There's more identification with the psychological construct or whatever vehicle, by which I mean body, you're expressing yourself then through. So the challenge is always when we have more energy, we need a greater stability. More energy means more responsibility. So in order to take this responsibility as part of the creator, as an aspect of the creator in this universe, we need to be trained, that we stay in a state of union, that we don't fall into some sort of resentment or vengefulness, or ideas of separations, that others are not you, they are other in your perspective, and therefore other is not as important as you, and therefore you'll get yourself in trouble over and over. If you have more energy available to you in the same way as I may have mentioned it before. For example, if an addict who has a heroin addiction has $100 on his bank account, he can't buy much heroin with it. But if he has $1 million, of course, the damage that he can do exponentially is much, much greater. Yeah. In the same way, we need to understand now we are receiving more energy, which makes us conscious of many things that we could previously suppress. Now we can't suppress it anymore. It comes to the surface. We either own up to it or we disown our children. What do I mean by disowning our children? Is disowning our own impact on creation and how it has been mirrored back to us, and we then pretend that we are a victim to our own children, to our own creations, but we are not. So if now you realize that everything that is happening to you is basically an assistance through the universal streams to bring you faster into a state of union, and if you own up to it and you do tremendous spiritual work right now, that you do shadow work, that you spend a lot of time in meditation, that whoever you have difficulty with, people you have close relationships with, that you understand it, that this is because of past life karma, and if you take accountability for it and you reflect in your own spiritual practice, in your sadhana, and you look into why do I have these conflicts with these people. And instead of blaming these people, you take a deep introspective. What is it in you that is actually hostile to them? What are they representing that is also existing in you that you have disowned, that you don't want to see displayed, so therefore you attack it out of hidden shame that is somehow maybe masqueraded behind passive aggressiveness or pride. So right now, the new age is not simply a golden age where everybody can be lazy about their spiritual practice and say, oh, God is going to redeem it all. No, the divine is providing you the energy and the information with which you can make the necessary changes. But to make these changes is up to you, and the way out is the way in, and it is responsibility, and it is accountability, and it is the end of victimhood. And this is exactly what the ego does not want, because it cannot survive in this truth of sovereignty. Contemplate about that, my friends. Be well.